Students, today we are going to learn grade 9 history. Lesson number 2, socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. So, the first lesson is the French Revolution. Already we have learned. This is the second one, Russian Revolution. The aristocracy and the church control the economic and the social power in France before 18th century. Okay. After the French Revolution, what happened? Many parts of the world, Europe and Asia, new ideas and individual rights were discussed. So, in India also Rajaram Mohan Rai and Teresa talked revolutionary ideas. In Russia, there are three different views among the people. There are three views. Depending upon the views, it was divided into the people three: liberals, radicals, and conservatives. So, who are the liberals? The liberals, those who were like to have a tolerance to religions. They were opposed to the uncontrolled powers of the rulers. They safeguarded the rights of the individual, voting to men, but they were opposed to women in voting. The second one was radicals. The radicals, they believe the government was to be based on majority of the country's population. They opposed privileges of the factory owners. They disliked the concentration of wealthy as well as the power in few hands, but they supported women's suffrage. The third one is conservatives. The conservatives were earlier they were opposed the idea of change. Later they accepted some changes. They believed in preserving and respecting the past, but they wanted changes but slowly. Again, the three views: first one was liberals, second one radicals, third one conservatives. Next, we have to see industrial society. Industrial society. After the industrial revolution, there was so many factories was made in was set up or established in Russia. So what happened? The railways expanded, industrials brought men and women and children to factories. Work hours were often long, but unemployment was common. As the industries and the machines came, there was there was a shortage for the people to be employed. That's why the unemployment became common, particularly during the times of low demand. As the industrialization came, there was a lot of big factories started, and then in cities housing and sanitation became a very problem because the towns were growing. Then liberals and the radicals themselves were often have a property owner. So then they have freed if the freedom of individuals was ensured, the poor could labor, then the capital could be operate without restraint. Many working men and women who wanted changes in their groups. Okay. Then next we have to see what is coming of socialism to Europe. Coming of socialism to Europe. Next, socialist against private property. Individual owned the property. So what happened? They gave employment. But the property was concerned with the only personal gain and not welfare of the productive people of the workers. If the society have the property, they would pay more attention to the social interest. This is the objectives of the socialist. So many two persons has given the viewer. For example, in English, a Robert Owen, who was an English manufacturer, he has built a cooperative community called New Harmony in Indiana, that is in USA. Then another one in Louis Blanc, who was a France in Frenchman. Louis Blanc wanted the government to encourage cooperative and replace the capitalist enterprise. Then Karl Marx. In this time only, Karl Marx in the book of Capitalism, he has mentioned about what is the idea of the socialist and, and also about capitalism. But here he argued, Marx argued that industrial society was capitalist. The conditions of worker could not improve as long as this profit was accumulated by private capitalists. Then workers had to overthrow capitalist and the capitalism and the rule of the private property. Then again from the big just I want to recall the Robert Owen, and he has said the government has to encourage cooperative, and Louis Blanc also he has said the production the produced what the people peasants have produced to be divided among the worker, and Karl Marx has said capitalists only exploited the workers. Next, we have to see Russian Revolution. What is Russian Revolution? The fall of monarchy. The fall of monarchy, that means of February 1917, and the events of October are normally called the Russian Revolution. What is the Russian Revolution, ma? The fall of monarchy in February 1917 and in the events of the October are normally called the Russian Revolution. Tsar Nicholas II was ruled Russia. He was the empire was included current day Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, parts of Poland, Ukraine, and Belarus. The majority here only are Greek Orthodox people, Orthodox Christianity people. Then economy, economy and society. How is the economy here? Here the vast majority of the Russian people were agriculturists. About 85% of the Russian people were earned their living from agriculture only. Then Russia was a major exporter of grain. The industry, two prominent industrial areas were St. Petersburg and Moscow. Then the many factories were set up. Workers were divided into social groups. Some had a strong link with the villagers, and then a metal work during that time was considered as a aristocrat because they are engaged in the palace work only. Okay. Next, beginning of the 20th century, majority of the agricultures were earned agriculture. France only 40% and German 50%. Most industries were private properties. Workers were divided by skill as a social group. Metal workers were considered aristocrats because they were worked in the palace only. The skill training, and then despite the divisions, workers tried to strike. Nobility, the crown, the Orthodox Church owned large properties. Who owned ma? The nobility, the crown, Orthodox Church owned large properties. The nobles got their power position through their services. The Russian peasants wanted the land of the noble to be given to them. So they refused to pay the rent, and even they murdered the landlord. So this they started joining together. This is known as mir or commune to the need of the family. Then during that time only, it was a turbulent time. Turbulent time means what? It is a very critical position. 1995 Russian Revolution, Democrats, revolutionary and peasants workers demanded. Next we have to see Bloody Sunday. What did they? In 1904, worst for Russian workers. Price increase, decline in wages, workers were dismissed. A strike was headed by Father Gapon, GAP1, Father Boyan, and the Winter Palace. It was attacked by the police. 100 workers were killed, 300 wounded. It was happened in Sunday only, and it was known as Bloody Sunday. Okay. The strikes, what was the effect of that? Strikes, university was closed, lawyers, doctors, engineers, and all were got striked. Then later, they demanded a constituent assembly. Then in 1905, the Tsar allowed the creation of elective consultative parliament or Duma. Then later, he declared the trade unions. He dismissed within 75 days the Duma because the Tsar did not want his authority to be controlled. So he dismissed the Duma. This is the first video then the second video to be continued. Kanna. For this video, I'm see the chart. You can understand the content. First one. So it was first one the lesson French Revolution. It gives ideas liberals, radicals, and community and conservatives. Liberals were religious tolerance. They opposed the ruler power. They opposed women voting. Then radicals opposed usually the wealthy owners, disliked wealth in few hands, but they supported suffrage to women. Then conservative, they accepted the same, some little change, but they respecting past, wanted the changes to be happening slowly. Next, in 1914, Tsar Nicholas was a ruler, and Karl Marx pointed that capitalists exploited the workers, care for their profit. Property was socially controlled. Society will be benefited. Without consulting Dumas, he became a part of the war. Okay. Then we have to go in the first video. This lesson was half only. The remaining we will continue in the second video. You go through the lesson and then you will have a clear idea.